You're listening to Rendezvous with the Writer with Bobbi Jean and Jim Bell, only on LA Talk Radio.
Welcome to Rendezvous with the Writer, where readers and writers meet.
And story is everything.
We just been listening to what? Hot Texas with a man.
Yes, Hot Texas Swing Band opening the show. And if you would like to watch the show or catch the show as a podcast, this is episode, can you believe this? This is episode 99. And you can find us later tonight on all your favorite platforms like Spotify and Amazon Music, always on LA Talk Radio. You can, you'll never miss the show. Jim, who is our special guest tonight?
We have two great authors on tonight. We have
do.
Peggy Chambers and Paula Binge. And Peggy's going to be interviewing Paula.
Yay.
And we're going to be watching a little bit.
We're going to be right here. But Peggy, welcome back for a third time, and welcome Paula. Quickly, Peggy, where are you joining us from tonight?
I'm in Enid, Oklahoma, almost the heart of Oklahoma. It's hot, it's humid, and it's still August. So.
And Paula, where are you?
I'm also from Enid, Oklahoma.
Okay, so, and we have just had our nightly thunderstorm and a little bit of rain and a high wind.
It lasted 5 minutes.
It's the New Mexico monsoon. So, well, we're delighted to have you both with us. Jim, do you have a little something you'd like to share about Peggy?
Yeah, we have a little bio about Peggy here. Peggy Chambers calls Enid, Oklahoma home. She is an award-winning author of 12 books. She writes in several genres, from children's books, young adult books, adult expense novels, pulp fiction, and comic books. But she has decided, after much soul searching, to settle on the mystery suspense genre going forward. Maybe. She has 2 children, 5 grandchildren, and lives with her husband and dog. You can find links to all her books on her website at PeggyLChambers.com.
And
Welcome,
we're
Peggy.
Delighted to have you back. Peggy has been with us, as I said, a third time. Last year in July and in 2022 in October. And we were just thinking it'd be fun to have Peggy and Paula and those 2 other guests all together sometime.
That'd be a big group.
Beginning part of next year. That'd be fun.
It'll be fun. I'll see what we can work out.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Peggy, if you would like to go ahead and introduce Paula, we're on our way.
All right. Let me tell you to begin with, I've known Paula for a long time. We're in the same writing club. And when I say writing club, not riding, we don't ride horses. So. But Paula is an award-winning author of a contemporary young adult novel and romantic fantasy novel. She's a certified personal trainer in Oklahoma, and she was inspired to write this new YA softball romance, the one called At the Heart of the Game, after she spent some time keeping score for fast-pitch softball. She also provides training for the athletes. Her romantic fantasy novella, A Neapolitan Fairy Tale at Lake Okoboji, was the Oklahoma Romance Writer Guild 2020 Heart Award finalist. So help me to welcome Paula Binge.
Welcome.
That was nice.
We're delighted to have you, Paula.
So Paula, you have a new book out, and I believe we have a picture of it. Paula has written a book called At the Heart of the Game. It's YA, it's college softball, it's romance, it's mystery, it's everything. Can you tell us a little bit about the backstory of what got you started on this book?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I joined our writing club in the summer after my daughter went to college, and I had a friend who asked me, "What am I writing?" And I said, "I don't have time to write. I'm just watching softball." And she said, "Write a softball story." And so that's how I started on the story. And it was easy because at the time I was living it, traveling all over to go. Yeah, but as I wrote it, so I hate to admit it, but it's been like 10 years. And as I wrote it, I realized that the heart of the story really was, it came whenever my daughter one day said, it's, people always come up to her as an athlete and say, like we always do, we always go, "Well, how's softball going?" And she said, "There's so much more to me than softball." And I thought, as I really watched all of these athletes, all these girls, they're teenagers and they're dealing with so much, and they have so much life from home, from school, from making decisions about where they're going to go to college and just life. And I thought that's what I wanted the book to be about, was how complicated, how deep these girls are, and then they have to lay that all aside and focus and play ball at the best of their abilities. So that's where I'm coming from.
Well, I think that's great. And you're right. Those girls have a lot more going on than just softball. They have college. They have social life. They have parents and family. And you had a lot of different characters in this book, and they all were deep. They all had a lot of deep characterizations that I just dearly loved. I know that River's father was missing in the book. Mm-hmm. And all through the book, we have kept saying, her dad is missing. And can you tell us about that? Or do you want to tell us about that?
Right.
Is it a secret?
No, it's not a secret. No. As I was thinking about River, and I thought, what could make her life harder? And having a parent, and there's no end, there's a hole in her heart. There's a hole in her life. There's a yearning to know where her father is and to have him be there because he's been there, her big support. You can't play softball by yourself, can't practice by yourself, especially if you're a pitcher. You have to have help. And so by having him missing, but he's really a hero. And I felt like that gave her something that she had to learn to deal with, day to day. So there wasn't I don't know anybody who's missing. I know families, military families are always saying goodbye to somebody and then they come back or whatever, but that's where it came from.
Can I jump in for one moment as a reader?
Yeah.
I have to say the storyline about the dad is really deftly written.
Thank you.
Right, Peggy? She kind of mentions, we learn about it sort of early on. We don't know. There's questions later on. We are part of a conversation because it's written in first person. We hear her have a conversation. We learn a little more. And it's so right. It's as a reader, this is young adult YA, yes. But we are not, I hate to tell you all, we are not young adults.
I'm not either.
Here we are. But it is written for all levels of engagement, and we enjoyed the book tremendously.
It is.
I'll let you get back on track. The mystery part for you readers out there is really good.
Thank you.
There is a mystery going through the softball, and it's interesting the way Paula put it all together. And like I said, I've known her a while and I've helped her critique her work. She's critiqued mine. I'm amazed that she does such a beautiful job of first person. It's hard, but yet I think first person pulls you into the story. So Paula, can you tell us about why you write first person? Or
I wrote in first person because it's a YA, and because I wanted it to be really deep in her head. I didn't want you to know anything else besides what she knew. And you and I've talked about this before, Peggy. Like if I write in third person, half the time I go back and I've switched to first, and I have to really watch it because first person is easier for me to write in. But I like how deep you can go. I like how you can be inside her head, feel what she's feeling when she feels it.
And I'm the opposite. I am the opposite.
Yeah.
It is good.
Do you want to?
I know that you struggled more than.
It's okay. Go ahead.
I know we talked about cover. At one point in time, you were talking self-publishing, or you were talking publishing with a publisher. Tell me about the cover and where that came from.
Yeah. I tried to, isn't that beautiful? So that person.
I don't know
that
for sure if you can hear me.
Yes.
We can.
That cover is close to my heart because that hand holding that softball is my daughter. And what happened was I tried to find an agent forever. And whenever I decided to self-publish it, we have a Dawn Mency Photography here at Enid. She goes in competitions. She's a fantastic photographer. And we went out and did a photo shoot. That's her high school field, and that's my daughter. And so that just makes it extra special.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful cover.
Yeah.
And is there a particular reason you came up with the title, The Heart of the Game, At the Heart of the Game?
Yeah. It was several different titles over the years, but Heart of the Game, there just wasn't enough because really at the heart of the game is the whole soul of the book. What makes you play, what drives you to play, and what's really at stake.
Well, and River, the main character, her last name is actually Hart, spelled differently. But I liked that you used her name in there.
Well, when I first started writing the book,
I'm sorry, Jim. What?
It's okay.
I listened to somebody speaking, and they said that they named their characters the character quality at first, and then they can change it later. So she was River Hart because this was a story about her heart, and then it just stayed.
Yeah. Did you have a question?
That's
the only thing I was comment on is that the title was At the Heart of the Game. What were a couple of the other titles that you were thinking about?
I had for a while, I was calling it Signs because,
everybody's freezing.
Yeah.
We're having just a momentary audio.
Were there some other characters that you might have named specifically for a reason?
Yeah. So
just bear with us. We're seeming to have a little bit of a streaming issue. We're not sure why. We can see and hear everybody. We're just frozen up a little bit. So let's see. Peggy, do you want to ask your question again?
I don't know.
You were asking about.
Can you hear me now? I just wanted. I think that there might have been some other characters that you had named specifically, and I thought maybe you might tell us about that.
I guess Paula's having a little trouble with her Wi-Fi. We're going to have her perhaps pop back in.
Bouncing in.
Yeah, we'll see if Paula can bounce back in.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, Peggy, this is it's so fun. These characters, you were asking about characters, and there's a couple of men, gentlemen, young men that get my heart racing, especially that guy named Ty.
Ty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ty is very interested in River, but he also keeps his distance, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He seemed like an interesting character. And all through the book, you kept rooting for Ty, thinking he would be the guy she would, end up dating. And they come and they go. They come and they go.
Yeah.
But the best
Here's Paula.
guy of all of them, he does.
And Paula, welcome back.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. These things can happen a little bit with the streaming technology. We're delighted you're back with us. Can you hear us okay?
I can see you and hear you.
Okay, great. So Peggy was asking about other character names when we kind of lost everybody.
Yeah. So there's none of my characters are based on real people. After 10 years, there's no real people. But when I was writing, my daughter was traveling with her junior college, and we were competing one weekend. And that same weekend, a junior college in Texas had a terrible accident, and they lost 4 of their players that weekend. And that story, man, as a mom, really stuck with me. So when I was naming characters, I purposely chose those 4 girls' names, not depicting them because I don't know them or their families, but I wanted to remember their names. So in the first chapter, there's 4 of the infield of Rivers High School team that are named after those girls. That means a lot to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a wonderful thing that writers, you have that tool in your toolbox to be able to use in such a wonderful way. Yeah.
Bobbi Jean and I were talking while you were out about Ty. We like Ty. Can you tell us about
great? I know.
Isn't he great?
Yes.
And he has a secret as well.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. He's got several secrets.
Yes.
He's a really nice guy. He just jumps in all over the place. And he likes to fish.
Yeah. And he is another, just like the dad mystery, that Ty, you reveal a little and a little more. Yeah. And we're as surprised as she is because it is first person. Like, how could you not tell me that, Ty?
Yes. Yeah. Everybody who's read it so far have texted me and said, wow, I really love Ty. So
he was great.
He is great.
And he obviously
no, he's not modeled after anyone. Just a really great guy.
Yeah.
Well, he was always there. He was always there for River and her family and anybody else, I guess, that needed help.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you have trouble writing dialogue? What do you think about dialogue? Is it hard?
Yeah.
Is it easy?
Yeah. Sometimes I'll start a conversation and it'll be a little stilted, which you can go back and fix that. And sometimes I will, especially as time has gone on and I've gotten more used to it, I can close my eyes and I'll go, okay, River, where are you? And who's with you? And what are you guys doing? And then the conversation will kind of start flowing, which is better. But I'm a writer because I always make better dialogue when I can think about it and rewrite it than in person. But I like it when it works like that.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and sometimes if you're like me, sometimes it flows. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get it to come out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, and with dialogue, you can always, like you said, go back and River would not have said that,
Yeah. Yeah.
Or not that way.
True. Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
So the inspiration for the story was your daughter and her team. You think that's what got you started?
Yeah. It was what we were immersed in at the time. And we ended up traveling. We were on several teams and we traveled from coast to coast and saw all levels of players and their desires and everything. So I admire softball
That's-
players. Can't play, but I admire them.
Well, Paula could whip you into shape if you needed it, because I know she's a personal
Yeah.
trainer. I got her to help me one time with something I was writing. And so I went down to the gym and she ran me through the paces and I was gasping pretty fast.
We would be.
Oh, yeah. So she understands athletes, I think.
Mhm.
A little bit.
There's for those of us that don't play softball and don't really know, Paula gets us out there on the field and in practice. And I asked you the other night if you could tell me what the triangles, the gals have to run triangles after practice one day, and I could tell from the dialogue this was a hard thing. Tell us about running triangles.
Yeah. Yeah. I read that triangle is you start at home plate, you go to the outfield, out of bounds pole, run to the other out of bounds pole, back to home plate. That's one. And if you do it multiple times on a hot day, and then, in the book, they don't enjoy it, but they do it as a team. So,
Yeah, that's kind of a torture exercise.
Well, and there was one girl who didn't finish.
Yeah, mental. It's all mental.
Yes, sure.
And it was a defining moment.
Right.
One of
Yes.
those defining moments in the book as well.
Yeah.
Turns out to be.
Yeah. When you suffer as a team, it builds you together, makes you stronger.
And that will also help out when they're playing, I'm sure, because it's a mental game. It's not just a physical game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure
Pitching,
that would be true. I don't
Yeah.
play one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that's kind of a lot of why I'm in River's Head. The mental part of pitching, I know, and the other positions too. But, if you doubt yourself, if you question anything, if your mental game, it can mess you up. I started a Goodreads must-read book for softball players, and one of them on there is like Mind Gym and all the other books from other sports that are all showing how to get mentally strong, because that's part of it.
Oh, yeah. It would be a big part of it.
Yeah.
You play softball yourself?
No, I was a basketball girl, and my kids wouldn't play basketball, so I went where they went.
I thought you did a pretty good job, really, describing the playing
Yeah.
and the sport itself.
Yeah.
So, did you get a lot of help? Did you put it all together by yourself, or did you get a lot of people kind of criticizing or suggesting, or?
Yeah, I learned a lot because of keeping score. I learned a lot, and then my husband was a lay coach a lot. So if I had a question about a play, or we'd talk things over, and Emily from my gym was a softball coach, I'd throw things past her. So they seem to have approved of all the softball things.
Good. That's good. I know the other night we talked about when she was pitching in the barn, and she was pitching to a certain pocket. Tell us about that.
Right. So
I don't know how that works, but you do.
Yeah. If you're a pitcher practicing by yourself and you don't have a catcher, then there's probably 5 foot or 6 foot black mesh stand that you have pockets that are, I don't know, maybe, and you aim for them in different positions where you want your ball to end up. And so there's a big cracking sound when they miss sometimes, or you hit the pocket. So that's what she practices with in her barn a lot.
Yes, and then there's the bucket.
Yeah, River.
Yeah. And everybody should try sitting on a bucket. So when my husband would catch for her during practice, you don't have to crouch. You sit on a 5-gallon bucket, and his had a cushion on the top and apron on it that with pockets for gloves and different things. But I've seen girls, especially like batting practice and stuff and pitching, but they'll have an open 5-gallon bucket filled with balls, and you can sit on the rim of that if you get used to it and just toss the ball up or pick a ball. So yeah, they're important. They're an important piece of equipment for softball.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
River grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
And she also is the baby. She's the youngest child, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah,
all brothers.
Yeah. Well, it live where we live in Oklahoma. It's rural. We live in a city, but farming just came naturally to put her on a farm.
Mhm.
And so, I'm tall. My daughter is 6'1". My son's really tall. I have uncles that are 6'8". So it was really easy for me. It wasn't outlandish for me to make them really tall. It just seemed fun to do this time.
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, that would make a big difference. I mean, there were probably lots of different height girls on the team.
Yes.
There was
Yes.
one in particular I remember was short, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's going to make a big difference if you got a long arm reach or if you're tall enough to
Yeah.
catch a fly ball or whatever.
Yeah. Every position has strengths.
Mhm.
And I was thinking about that today, the guts of the catcher and the fearlessness of the third baseman when they're creeping up on somebody getting ready to hit the ball. My husband says it makes the hair on the back of his neck rise, and the shortstop who is like magic just all over the field, and the first baseman who the buck stops with them that first out at first. They catch the ball no matter where it is, they stop it. And the second baseman is nothing gets upfield, and there's a special connection between second base and catcher. And it helped me, I think, knowing their positions helped me form their personalities a little bit.
Oh yeah. But this book is not just about softball.
No.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the other stories that are running through it while we're reading?
Mm-hmm. I don't want to give too much away.
Mhm.
There's Jaden, of course, her best friend. She's in this story all the way through, and her story is it happens. Her story is a good story to tell too. I feel like real strongly about her story all the way through, but the friendships that they all form and stuff. Finding the dad, surviving college, going from high school to college. There's a little bit in there about, you walk onto a college, you feel really you're top dog at high school, and you go to college to try out or something, and then you feel so awkward. And so there's a lot of that, just teenage things, coming of age and learning to be comfortable with yourself. And there's a little bit about other athletes and how they work. And there's, I don't know what else.
Well, I do know there was some jealousy between River and another pitcher.
Yeah.
They worked that out, I think.
You don't see that out loud, but I tried to make it, I had to make it a little bit out loud in the book, but a lot of times the things between girls are silent.
Mm-hmm.
But
yes,
I had to make it a little out loud so that you could see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
And just everyone had a little bit of an arc, a little bit of a change to make.
Another character that I really liked was Coach O'Daniel.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't he fantastic?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know how to write them, Paula.
I've known a lot of really good coaches, so that was easier for me to write. And not all softball coaches, but softball coaches and other coaches, the ones who really care about their players and are interested in their whole life, and there's all different kinds, but he was a joy to write.
Well, he really was. And the other coach that was his
Yeah.
assistant,
Yeah.
you just want to smack her. I mean, you really did. And she cared about her players, but
Right.
not in the way that he did.
In a different way. Yeah.
She was a good person, but you had to dig hard to find
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Just as passionately, cared just as passionately, but
Mhm.
it's hard to see sometimes.
Yeah. Yes.
Mhm.
Well, and I liked it when she gave her shoe.
I had to call one of my softball players who played at Kansas KU and say, what kind of shoes did the coaches wear? Is this going to work?
Little research.
Yeah.
Well, when in the middle of the game your shoe falls apart, you've got a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, probably.
I think that may be the one stretch, that your shoe would fall apart. But if you're on the winning streak, it's surprising what you won't change. It's surprising.
Did you have a question, Jim?
Well, we're talking about the assistant coach. The lady, and she's pretty standoffish and she's pretty tough.
Yeah.
And sometimes it reminds me of people I've worked with in days going by. Sometimes if they think you're really good, they push you harder.
Yeah, they push you
They
hard.
push you harder maybe than the next person because they know that you're capable of more.
Yeah.
But they don't tell you that.
No.
For you to
Tough luck.
figure out.
Well, and I think that's a good point because I think Coach O'Daniel has pitched for so long that he's earned the right to be so invested. Because at first you have to figure out how to coach and what you want and then you start making a program and you start making a culture and then things can change. So there's all different kinds. People are motivated by different things too.
Mhm.
That's true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk more with Peggy and Paula. Here's a word of one of the places that you can find most of the books featured here on Rendezvous with a Writer. Visit our bookshop.org affiliate page at outwestshop.com, and we'll be right back. Don't go away. Stay tuned.
Story is everything. Story is everything. Find a great one on Out West Shop's bookshop. Go to outwestshop.com. Find books and CDs on the menu. Choose Shop Out West on bookshop.org. Browse through featured authors on Rendezvous with a Writer. Explore curated book lists and our featured picks. Add in note cards, calendars, and jigsaw puzzles. One-stop shopping for great gifts. Use the search box to find thousands more titles. Make the switch. Your purchase supports us as independent booksellers. That's our story.
Welcome back.
Yay.
Rendezvous with a Writer. We're talking with Peggy Chambers and Paula Benz. And we're talking about at the heart of the game.
Yeah.
Welcome back, ladies. Take it away.
Thank you. We've talked about softball most of the night, but I know Paula has another side, and she writes other things. And she wrote a book called A Neapolitan Fairy Tale at Lake Okoboji. I always mispronounce that, but I think I got it. Okoboji. Tell us where that is. Is that a real place?
Yes. So Lake Okoboji is in Iowa, northern Iowa. And what's really unique about there, I visited with friends, but they have a phantom university, the University of Okoboji. They have a phantom sports team. They have they have shirts with it on there. So whenever I was going to write the fairy tale but I wanted to write about a lake and ice cream and romance to fulfill a submission. The lake that I thought of was Lake Okoboji. And because of its cute phantom university and everything, it just felt like it should be a fairy tale. So that's how that story came out.
Well, and it's just really cute. I read it and I was a third of the way through it when I went, fairies. What? And I didn't know that you really were going to have fairies in your fairy tale. But Paula writes fantasy, and she does it beautifully. And so tell us a little bit about that story.
Right. This was before COVID, but my character Georgiana has a ice cream store in Colorado, loses her sense of taste, so then she can't create new ice creams. And she goes to Lake Okoboji, where she grew up, where she fell in love with actual nutty bars and ice cream and lake and joy. And so she went back to visit and met a co-owner of an ice cream store there, and then was very surprised when his 3 aunts turned out to have fairy wings. So it was a lot of fun. It's a novella, so it was short. It was a lot of fun.
It's just darling. It really is. And before I was finished, I really wanted ice cream.
One scoop or 2.
Or a nutty bar. Those are good.
Yes. What do you have that's a work in progress right now? Do you have something going on?
I have several things started, but one that I'm trying to finish up is a middle grade story. And I haven't written middle grade before, but I came across a news thing from Oklahoma City, a high school, the oldest high school standing in Oklahoma City, was remodeling. And when they took down things off the wall, they found chalkboards with writing on them from 1917.
Oh, wow.
There were lessons plans and drawings and calendars, and it was really fantastic. So I just had to write something about that. It's a high school now, and I'm writing a story. I'm almost done about, which I don't know why my mind does this, but they're children that live in the school. They're not ordinary children. They're 6 inches tall, and they're made from chalk. And they live in the school, and they, when the school is remodeled, it reveals the chalkboard again. And so there's a little bit of a mystery there and a quest. There's a quest. So.
Oh, it's really cute. It truly is. We talked before about the fact that we're in the same writers club.
Yes.
Do you think that's important for music writers?
Yes. We started a critique group as people who wanted to send 3 pages to each other. I credit that with finishing my novels because there's a deadline and there's people giving you feedback. So it gives you, gets your juices flowing to go back and finish something. Mm-hmm. And the writing club was intimidating to me at first. But when you go, usually I've just found writers are the nicest people and generous people, and especially my writing group. So I do think it's, I know people do it on your own, but I just think, wow, the journey is so rich when you do it with other people.
Well, I know we both have moved on to our local writers club as well as a statewide.
Yes.
And you go to one conference and I go to another conference, but a lot of people mixed. And I've learned a ton. I'm sure you have learned a ton as well.
I have.
Yeah. There is something we always ask, and I don't know, am I too early to ask the question?
Not at all. There's no such thing as too early with a good question.
There is a question that is always asked on this show, and it is, what do you do when you come up against writer's block?
Okay. Okay. There's usually 3 things that I'll do. I'll either go for a walk, get blood moving, be outside. I'll take a shower because, of course, when you can't write something down or drive, that's whenever you think of something. The other thing I've found, if I'm on a timeline, if I'm on a deadline, I just I have a lot of books. I'll pull a book off. I'll just open it to any page and I'll read a paragraph, and then I'll pull another book off and read a page. And sometimes what somebody else's book, what other people's characters are doing, will let my mind relax enough that my characters will start doing something. And those are the 3 things I do.
That's brilliant. That third one, Peggy, have you heard that one before? What a great idea.
No, I don't think I've ever tried that one. I'm certainly not the athlete that Paula is, but I do work out. And I find that, like Paula says, when you're busy and you don't have anything to write with, that's when it always comes. And when I'm working out, my mind starts churning, and there I go. I think of something and I try to remember it till I can get home.
Mm-hmm. Jim has a question he loves to ask, and this would be perfect to ask them both.
Yeah.
You know your favorite question? Here's a good one for both of you.
Yeah, we talked about characters earlier, and the question is, do any of your characters ever surprise you?
Yes.
Tell us about it, Paula. Tell me about your crazy characters.
I can't think of one position. One time in my work in progress, my little 6-inch tall chalk people, they're surprising me all the time. I'm going, what did you just do?
They're so cute.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah.
Oh, I know I've had a lot of people say Peggy's not done until somebody dies. In
Right.
her book. Find some unique way to kill somebody off. Not my children's books, but only my mysteries.
Yeah. We're going to take one last very short break. This is the perfect time. And we'd like to share a word from Blue Cottage Agency. They have come alongside of us as a sponsor, and they're all about promoting all of you. So take a quick listen and we'll be right back.
Rendezvous with a Writer is sponsored by Blue Cottage Agency and Clicks by Madison, your author publicity and book marketing team. Experienced, trusted, effective. Contact them today at bluecottageagency.com.
And we're back.
Welcome back. Rendezvous with a Writer. Well, that was quick.
This has been so much
really
fun.
was quick.
Yeah. Peggy, back to you.
We talked about what Paula. Well, we talked about Paula's latest work in progress. We said WIP is work in progress. I had to explain that the other night. But I've been working on another mystery that's set at another lake in Oklahoma. This one is Canton Lake, where I grew up as a kid. And I'm learning an awful lot about the disappearance of Indigenous women all across the country, but
yes,
I'm setting this in Oklahoma. So I've been working on that. And that's very interesting.
Yes. And I'm thrilled to hear that more and more authors are turning their attention, and we as readers, it may be in our local newspaper, but boy, when we're reading a book, and whether it's historical fiction or it's mystery or whatever it is, and that is part of the storyline, is a fabulous way to get readers across this country to really understand more about this situation.
Not much is said about this. And I don't think most of the population,
even here in the
too much
West,
about
even
it.
here in the Southwest, it kind of it makes it gets some press, and then it falls away, and it's across, as you said, Peggy. It's everywhere. It's not just here in the Southwest. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
So no, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just said I've learned a lot in researching about it. I was unaware of how much was happening,
Yeah. So let's see, Peggy, what are you reading now? Just going to put you on the hot seat. Or what's on your stack of what to read next?
I just finished, and I'm at least 50 years behind, but I just finished reading A Wrinkle in Time. It's a YA from the 1960s.
Yes.
It is just really interesting. I'm working on a Scott Turow, another one of his legal thrillers. And I spent some time working in a law office, so I always get into the legal thrillers. They're interesting to me. What about you, Paula? What are you reading?
I'm finishing John Toll's book.
Okay.
So I'm finishing that. And then, and And I'm rereading a book called The Inheritance Games that Jennifer Lynn Barnes wrote. She's a professor at OU, and I heard her speak once, but her books are all really big. The Inheritance Games.
Fun.
Okay.
If you had the chance to sit and interview an author, any author, live or dead, Peggy, who would you love to sit with? Hot seat. We have not practiced these.
Hot seat.
We
I was thinking that maybe we might try to get Sheldon Russell on this podcast. He is an Oklahoma author. He's a retired professor of English, and Sheldon is just one of the nicest people you'd ever want to meet, and he writes some fabulous work.
Very fun. Paula, who would you like to sit across the table from?
I'm looking over at my books. I'm like, well, all of them. I'd like to meet them all. I don't think there's one.
It's an interesting question to ponder, isn't it? It's an
It
interesting
is.
question to ponder.
I would, of course, say Stephen King.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
You talked to him one time, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, in college, and it was just a weird situation. I didn't realize it was him until he left, and I was reading Salem's Lot, and I looked at the picture on the back, and I thought,
Oh wow!
that looks familiar.
I was a college student at Bates College in Lewiston, Maine, and the Androscoggin River ran, right through Maine, and he came into the theater. It was a summer theater program, and I was like an apprentice, and I just happened to be in the box office. Very quiet day, nothing really going on, and the door opened, and I was reading Salem's Lot. I'm just sitting in the box office. This is like back when that book, I don't want to date myself, how long ago this was. And the big door opened to the lobby, and I wasn't paying attention, but I knew it had opened. And the next thing, there's this gentleman standing, in front of me, and I literally jumped out of my skin. And I said, oh, can I help you? And he said, yeah, can I have 2 tickets? And he walked away, and I thought, I think that was Stephen King.
Didn't he ask you what you thought of the book?
Honey, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't. The years are getting past me. But I think he asked me, "What are you reading? What are you reading?" And I said, "Oh, this is really, Salem's Lot." And he's like, "Oh, I think that's how I discovered the picture on the back of the book."
Oh, no.
That is awesome. He must have loved that.
Yeah, well, my memory could be, don't quote me.
I recently was in a little craft store, and I was talking to, this was here in Enid, talking to a lady, and I said something about, do you have books in here? And I gave her my card, and she goes, you're that person that wrote that book. And I went, somebody knows me.
That's awesome.
How fun. Well, ladies, all of a sudden I'm looking at the clock.
Okay.
And that even though we had some little technical glitches, I hope that you had as wonderful a time as we did. We thank you so much for being with us tonight. Our guest next week, talking to authors and books, is Kevin Wolf. This is a mystery, Trail Ridge, a Guy Hogan mystery. And if you like Corvettes, there is a Corvette in this book. It plays a major role. It's a really terrific mystery, and this will be show 100 next week. So plan on joining us, and we just want to say thank you again to both of you. You have a quote.
Oh, we have a couple.
Yeah, you get right to them, Jim.
I always like to take one from the book and one from someplace else. Yeah, this one here, I'm actually not taking it from the story. I'm taking it from the author herself, Paula. This book has been my hard knocks education. I wrote in hotels, besides chlorine-fumed pools, and in the car. It would have been disheartening to know it wouldn't be published until years later, but not surprising that I made every mistake possible on the way. It forced me to grow, and I didn't give up. I love this book for that.
At the heart.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, I got one for a softball quote. This is from Jenny Finch, perhaps one of the greatest women softball players of all time, who had this to say: "Before you can achieve, you have to believe in yourself."
Yeah. Those are awesome. Yeah.
And then one more. This is just a little clip from a famous baseball philosopher, Yogi Berra.
Yeah.
He was talking about lining up for a spring training drill, and he says, "Pair them up in threes."
Thank you so much for being
Thank
with us.
you. This
We'll
is
see
awesome.
you. We'll see you down the road.
It's always a great day out west.
Keep writing. We'll keep reading. Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.